My name's Stuart Rubenstein. I am the owner of a school in London called Language in London, and the director, one of the directors of the Language In group. Come in. Excuse me. Sorry. Is that okay? Hello. One of the directors of a new group called the Language In group. Come in, come in. With Kevin and Margie and James, our sales director. I'm going to speak to you today.
Sorry, pardon.
I'm going to speak to you today about innovation and how we need to work together to make our industry stronger and to make it easier to sell. Looking at the badges, most people here are agents. I can see only one or two schools. And I think that's a shame, because I would also like to be addressing this to my competitors. I believe I'm qualified to speak about innovation. I've had 22 years in this business. 5 years ago, I won the British Council Prize for Innovation in English Teaching. In fact, my school was the first in the world to win this prize. And for the last 4 years, I've been a judge for the British Council for their innovation prizes. And that means I'm the first person to see every year what's new. Every product, every idea comes to me first. And what I have to say to you is it doesn't look good. In the 4 years that I've been judging the award, we have had, and it's open to anything in English language teaching. In the 4 years that I've been judging, we have had people enter, publishers enter, people with exciting websites and podcasts. In 4 years, come in. In 4 years, we've had one school enter. And what they entered was a course which they have been running for 20 years, which is hardly new and hardly innovative.
I'm sure everybody would like to know what you won for.
You'll have to hang on.
Do I have to stay?
Oh, don't go. I'd have to say that if you're in the business of selling English courses, and English courses is what I'm speaking about, and if you're in the business of selling English courses to the typical market, aged 18 to 30, and if you've come here to find anything new, I would be surprised if you really leave with a lot of information about new products. In fact, on the whole, most discussions are about prices and about commission, but that's not necessarily what makes it easy for you to sell. What I would say, very simply, and this is strange because we're in the business of education, is that we've forgotten how to listen. In the 22 years that I've been in this business, I have to say that the bread and butter course, the course that you sell the most for us, General English, has not changed in any school in any way. Some of the course books have changed, but on the whole, the lessons are the same, and I'm sure some of the teachers are still telling the same jokes that they were telling 22 years ago in class. Which is a little bit worrying, because the only way any industry survives is by constantly looking at what it's doing and making changes. I've put needs and wants down here. Most of the time in our industry, we concentrate on what people need. And people say to us, I need English for my job, or I need English for university. It's really, really difficult to sell to someone's need. We need to sell to what somebody wants, what makes them excited. If someone says, I want to be able to walk into a room and hold everybody's attention and speak in a second language and get a job because my English is good enough, that's a want. And if you're able to say to someone, I can sell you that, it's a lot easier than selling someone's need. I'll give you an example. You've got a house with a hole in the roof. If a builder comes along to you and says, well, it's going to cost you 4,000 euros to repair that hole in the roof, are you going to say, that's fantastic, I can afford it, and if I repair the roof, then I'll have shelter, and shelter is a basic human need, and I'm going to be really happy? Or are you going to say, oh God, 4,000 euros, think of all the things I'd rather spend that money on. I could spend that money on a holiday, or a new laptop, or a car, because that's what I want. No one today is happy spending money on what they need. And that's the problem with what we're trying to sell. I'll give you a tiny example in our industry. You could send me an intensive student for 4 weeks. That student may be spending £2,000 on a course, accommodation, a flight, taxi transfers, tickets to a show in London, and they come into the school and I say to them, and you need to buy a book for your course, and that costs £20. £20? Why do I have to buy that? Oh, because you need the book. But there are other things I want to spend that £20 on. There is no way we can carry on selling just to people's needs. 75, 100 years ago, this would have been a very exciting object to have. You could be the first person in your row to have a phone. Even if you've got nobody to phone, because nobody else you know has a phone, you still want to be the first person to have a phone. This is probably 20 times more expensive than the other phone. Our market, our 18 to 30-year-old market, either has an iPhone or wants an iPhone. None of them say, and this is one of the most common phrases in our industry, none of them say, I'm price sensitive. They don't say that. They say, I want an iPhone, and either I'll buy one or I'll wait until I can buy one. Why? Because they want one. And unfortunately, what's happened is that that's general English. It's something you need. It has a function, but it doesn't inspire any excitement. This is what we're selling, and that's what we should be selling. To keep our industry alive, what we need to do is we need to innovate. I've made some notes about innovation, but the first thing I put was we must listen. And who must we listen to? Well, the people who are not here. We must listen to our customers. Stop asking them the question, why do you need to do this course? But listen to what they want. And if we listen to what they want, my guess is that it won't be too complicated to deliver it. And if we offer them what they want, instead of chasing them and saying it's very difficult now because of the internet, or life's difficult, or the economy's difficult, Apple aren't complaining. They're selling their iPhones. They're selling them, and they're very expensive, and they're selling them because people want them. Imagine if you had a portfolio of schools. You've got 10 schools selling general English, and you lay them out in front of your customers. And your customer says, well, I'd like to do 20 lessons a week. And you say, okay, I've got 10 schools here. They all do 20 lessons a week. What's the difference? This one's expensive, this one's cheaper, and these ones are in the middle. Does anyone know anything more about our main product, general English? No, because on the whole, there is no great difference. It's the same teachers with the same books, sitting in the same classroom, with a board, teaching pretty much the same lesson. And effectively, what we're doing is we're making the choice difficult for the customer. If I had 5 cars that were exactly the same car, but with different prices, I probably wouldn't choose the cheapest. I'd probably just walk away and say, it's all too confusing. I'm not quite sure which one is the one for me. So what is innovation? We've got our space travel here. Has anyone ever sent you an email, picked up the phone, come into your office and said, excuse me, I'm looking for an English course on the moon? Have you ever had that? Not yet. My guess is it's very, very unlikely to happen. Because that's not innovation. Innovation is not the craziest idea that you could think of. I can imagine that some people would quite like an English course on the moon, and they probably like accommodation within floating distance of the classroom, and you can guarantee with the powdered food that everything will be okay, and lots of contact with your teacher because there's nowhere else to go. But I doubt it's what people really want. And so when we're talking about innovation, we are not talking about people doing something that's crazy or wacky. And I have to say, it's a mistake a lot of schools have made. And the place you've seen it is English plus. English plus skydiving, English plus knitting, English plus anything that isn't really what any of us sell. Every now and then you may sell an English course with some golf lessons, but that's not what people really want. Over here, the interactive whiteboard. The interactive whiteboard is another mistake many schools have made, because people confuse technology with innovation. And technology and innovation may be related or may not be related. But I would be very, very surprised if you ever had a student contact you and say, I'm looking for a school where the accommodation is within walking distance, I have an allergy to nuts, and the school must have interactive whiteboards. If you ever have someone ask for that, I would be incredibly surprised. And schools think, okay, we've spent £50,000 fitting our... Schools can spend £50,000 fitting every classroom with interactive whiteboards, and in the end, what do they have? Exactly the same course, but with interactive whiteboards. One small step. One small step is innovation. Innovation is always listening to the customer and then making one small step to get to what they want. I said I'd answer the question of why I won in 2006 the Innovation Award Prize. In 2005, I did a year-long research into my competitors in London. I researched what they did for short stay, summer, general English courses, the ones that fill our schools. And what I found was they did something similar to what I do, and it didn't make me feel good.